There you go.
You gotta stop. That is terrible. But
well, here we are.
But well delivered. Yeah, just by chance. Oh.
So, my friend, Mr. Dennis, it's another week,
God.
Another dollar, another beer, another everything. Here we are.
Another episode. Oh, Lord.
I'm aware that you have some tragic news in your life around the footballs.
Well, let me tell you. The other day, I rewatched the Lions game at a bar, and it was just yesterday, and it was on television, a repeat. And I was watching when the score was 21-7, and it was just miraculous that I happened to show up at this bar with the game on as a rerun when the score was 21-7, because they kicked a field goal and they made it 24-7, thus putting the game out of reach in a statistical angle perspective, perhaps, because nobody in the history of playoffs has ever come back from that level of a deficit.
Hey, 24/7 is how much I work, so that's cool.
Well, bingo.
Right.
And I remember looking up at the screen and yelling and jumping for joy, and then I remembered
the future.
That in fact it was a rerun. And they went
remembered
on
the future
to lose it.
Yes.
It's to be a negative storyline is Lions suffer the worst meltdown in NFL playoff history.
Cool.
That's one way. Another way to put it is that San Francisco 49 overcome a amazing Lions first half.
Right.
You can spit it any way you want, but at the end of the day, I can go into some detail. Let me just say this, though. There were 2 drop passes in critical moments. There was a couple of bad throws in critical moments. There was a fumble that on the 20-yard line, which resulted in a score. There were enough mistakes on both teams that the one who had the fewer mistakes won the game, and that's the way anybody who was examining, researching bets, what the spread is and how it would happen. One of the statistics is that if the Lions didn't turn it over at all and the 49ers turned it over twice, they were 100% certain of winning, looking at stats. But anyway, I was screaming, jumping for joy, running around the house like a fool at halftime, and it was crushing. It was crushing.
Sounds like a lot of people lost a lot of money.
No. Well, I don't know about that. People in Michigan did, certainly, but the Lions were favored to lose by 7.
Okay.
And they covered that. They only lost by 3, I believe. But it was the highs and the lows of any game wherever the ball would spin or would drop. I mean, except for the drop pass. I mean, it was 4-2. They were threatening to score again. They were close enough that they could have kicked a field goal. And some would argue now that since they opted to pass, since that pass was dropped and they lost the ball, and it was recovered, obviously, by the other team right then and there, it's easy to second guess after the fact. Sure. But this is a fact, that if they would have kicked the field goal instead of going for it, it would have put the game out of reach. And on the other hand, Dan Campbell, the coach, who some call Dan Gamble, has been going 4-2, 4-4 all season with great success. He wouldn't be where he is in the semifinal to get to the Super Bowl if he hadn't been knowing that his team is a 4-down team and he can count on his guys. The quarterback, in fact, made the right pass. The guy dropped the ball.
Why?
He doesn't usually.
Why wouldn't you do the let's seal the deal on this play?
Because you may not trust your kicker. It may be that on this particular day outside in San Francisco with a near 50-yard kick, that's not a certainty.
Okay, I didn't realize so that far.
What's more likely is that Reynolds and Laporta can get open for a 3-yard pass. That's very likely. Right. In fact, there's an analyzer that they show when you're watching these games now that says analytics. Should they go for it? And in this case, for two of these, a 4-2 and a 4-4, the analytics said it's a toss-up.
Oops.
It's a toss-up.
Yeah.
So now it gets down to even the analytics. Well, when you hear people talk post-game who argue the point, Dan Campbell gave the game away by not kicking and instead taking the riskier move.
Right.
And statistically, the kicker makes most of his kicks. Not all, but most. Yeah. But there's conditions to consider.
But the passes also are mostly successful too, right?
Under Jared Goff, and particularly with these receivers, particularly if it's only 2 or 3 yards, it's a 2-step turnaround.
2-step turnaround.
You know, I mean, boom, and that's what Reynolds did, and it went right where it should have, perfectly thrown ball. So Campbell's trust in Goff was accurate. He threw the perfect pass, and his trust in Reynolds, not so much. Statistically, Reynolds probably he'll catch that pass, 98 out of 100 times.
Jesus. Okay.
All things considered.
49 out of 50. 49.
Whatever. And it's not to say that would have won the game, but then they got 4 downs to go 30 yards, then kick a field goal if they're close, if they can't get it in. But they've been getting it in all day, so to speak. So I could go on. I heard a guy on the radio say he's not watching the Super Bowl coming up on the 11th. He said because it's like being in losing his perfect girlfriend who was a model and everything he ever wanted in a woman, and she left him, and then she left him, but she invited him to her wedding.
Right.
He said, "No, I'm not. No, I can't watch the game.
Aww.
It's too painful."
Poor guy.
It's too painful.
But you're gonna watch, even though there's no Bills or.
My third favorite team in the NFL is Kansas City Chiefs. Okay. And the fact that they beat my tied for first place favorite team, the Buffalo Bills, was enough for me to say, fuck them, I'm not watching the game for about the first week. And then I'm thinking about my brother in Kansas City, and he's all happy and cheering. Yeah. And so it's his team. I'll cheer for his team. I don't want the 49ers to win now. I don't want the guys who beat us to win, even though on the record that looks better.
Right, exactly.
Well, they didn't win, but they lost to the team that won it all. So
yes,
I mean,
that's always
they won to the best team. Nah, fuck that. And this is what I know: 49ers are going to lose. They're going to lose. I don't know what the spread is, but
okay,
I would.
You
bet.
heard it here, folks.
Yeah. Okay, that is all there is from the sports
I have a question. Are the Chiefs from Kansas or Missouri?
Kansas City is in both states.
I know.
They're from Kansas City.
Right. That was my question. Where?
And your question, you said what state?
Yeah. Which Kansas City?
No. There's not two Kansas Cities. There's one Kansas City that has a line of the state going right in the middle of it.
Okay, but
there aren't two Kansas cities.
Okay, but for sure. Boy, first of all, what a bureaucratic nightmare that must be. But the stadium must be in one state or the other.
Yes, and it's downtown Kansas City. I believe the line demarcating the two states runs directly at the 50-yard line, right through the middle of the field.
Such a diplomatic answer. That's
So,
beautiful.
just-
I'm gonna put this in the
next
show
question.
notes
Next,
because this is such a stupid question that I came up with.
well, actually, here's the case. The office is in the Missouri side, and the stadium is in the Kansas side. Half of the team members own property in Missouri. Half of the other team members own property in Kansas.
Okay,
So it's amazing.
good.
But it's perfect. It's perfectly split.
It's you'd think half the city would be called Missouri City, right?
No, I wouldn't think that. But this is what I think. I think that Kansas City Chiefs declared their home state the one with the lower tax rate.
There you go. That's
Their address,
that's the way.
their legal address,
Yes,
is on a street. Unless that street,
Chief Street.
Chief Street.
Yes. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Cool.
Well, look it up in your spare time.
Oh, I will in my large swaths of vacuous. spare
So
time.
let's jump into episode 3,
I mean, I think we have to.
our latest favorite series.
True Detective, season 4, episode 3. Let's go. So,
Night. What's it called? Night Country.
yeah, Night Country, yes, is the name for this
Subtitle.
for the season. Yes, I have some thoughts. I'm sure you do too. And that's what we're here for, to share thoughts.
Yes, that lightning speed.
Well, I thought that no, the opening sequence was really interesting. The sort of flashback where Navarro goes and
Goes to arrest.
goes and finds Annie, the later murdered woman, giving birth, and
Attending a birth.
yeah, okay, and like I remember hearing from the creator of this season how they wanted to have women be in the forefront and not so much men. And is there anything more feminine women getting together to help each other than like midwives at a birth? Like
Yeah.
it was so incredibly
Unexpected.
it was just so feminine in a way that you normally don't see on television, and the little bit of suspense there where like the baby wasn't crying was beautiful as well, because it like tugged at your heartstrings to like
The fragility of life.
indeed exactly
Indeed. And the miracle of birthing.
the fragility and the miracle.
And the way they looked at her with some suspicion, and the way she became self-conscious, kind of, taking her hat off
Right.
and patting her hair, and then they just looked at her and said, "Join us," and she just did it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Well,
was beautiful.
and that was very smart on the screenwriter's part, because it set up the kind of the heart-falling other parts of the story, where if that created in you a tenderness, okay, that tenderness was about to be assaulted, and it was assaulted in the hospital with Professor Lund, Dr. Lund,
Yes,
who was finally established as what you and I had considered a kind of a missing link or a little.
It was not clear last episode. I don't think we're
Well,
stupid. I think it was just not clear.
It was the second episode, which they almost opened within the hospital,
Right.
and the idea of an amputation, which the guess was, and we said, whether I said it to you or I said it to somebody, I wonder if it was the guy whose arm they broke off, because they were talking about
we talked about that.
an amputation, but they didn't say it, except she must have said something to make me think that. Here's the question for you. Did the writers and the director do that glimmer without clarity purposely?
I think so.
It,
I think that was given their the whole way of telling a mystery is that you give little glimpses and then they pay
Right.
off eventually. But that was particularly egregious in my opinion because they
egregious is you must not like.
because they gave no information that was that person.
So here's the way I think of it: is there were two connected scenes that were separated by episodes, and one led to the other. And now, in hindsight, when you put those two scenes together, they make sense. One scene was the ending shot
Right.
of episode 1, I believe, when the corpsicle moved. That was scene 1. Scene 2 was in the hospital.
But
No, there were three scenes. 1, breaking off his arm.
yeah,
2, the corpsicle moving.
was-
And 3, somebody's in the hospital. Here's the question: did only Lund move in the shot?
I feel like
I don't
feel like
think
they
so.
all did. I feel like they were all shouting.
Was it him moving and his movement caused them to move? There was someone moaning, and we're to believe that this was someone who, according to other evidence that she discovered, had been dead for days, or had at least left the house for days because the clothes were stinky, the food was rotting.
Yeah, I agree. This is a weird sort of plot hole, and
But I don't think it's a plot hole. Unless you could call it a purposeful plot hole. I think what they were trying to do was for us to say for 2 full episodes what we did, which was after one thing, which was the moving corpsicle, we said, what the fuck? Because they didn't go back to it.
Right.
We didn't know whether it was real. She imagined it. It was some kind of fabrication. We went, what the fuck is that? Then, when they were in the hospital in that other scene, we both looked at the TV and looked at whoever was in the room and said, what? Who? What? Where? Who was that?
yeah, right.
So that got us talking about it. So it wasn't a plot hole. Let's say it was an interesting plot strategy or an interesting plot.
Twist.
Yeah. Twist would be usually you thought this would happen and that would happen. This was devoid of that. This was less.
Like a plot knot. Plot knot.
A plot ploy.
Plot ploy.
A ploy.
Ploy. Yes.
A ploy in the narrative. The narrative was designed to make you feel a way, not to necessarily at that point further the story. These were a couple of unsettling missing pieces that they put together in now they're halfway through their season.
So, as I think my communications have made clear.
I'll check that.
What?
I'll check that.
I went back and watched the second half of the first season. Because like apparently a couple years ago I had gone back and watched the first half, and so like HBO was all like, okay, this is where you are. And boy, that is some amazing television. Like we're aware that True Detective season 1 was groundbreaking television and gripping in a way that really got our attention. But that said, boy, the last episode of season 1 is just shit. It's just not fulfilling at all. It's
and widely panned for that exact reason.
because in the penultimate episode, they get the killer and they get one of them gets shot or whatever, or hurt, and then the final episode is just like them in the hospital.
It's a postscript.
Yeah.
And like, my theory is that they ran out of episodes and didn't know what to do, and took what I think is a shortcut, lazy way out. Somebody had to come in and tell those writers, we don't have time to continue this trajectory. We don't have the time to, in one episode, to go any further into the story. We have to, we're done with the story.
Right.
Of the molesters and the killings. We're done with that. We're done with that. And we're just going to jump to the future when they get back together again in a way that is not credible.
Yeah.
Not credible.
Which is such a shame because it's such such a beautiful work of art, and then they fuck it up at the end.
So what is the scene? Is the scene that I saw across my feed the other day is the scene where Rust and what's the main character's name?
Yeah, Woody.
Woody's guy's name. What was his name? That he's talking to him and comforting Rust, who's in a hospital gown and crying and crying. It was a powerful scene, and I later thought that must be in the last episode. It was very moving and well done. Maybe that was the centerpiece of it that was somehow lost in the fullness of the impoverished writing of the last episode. One good scene does not a good episode make.
Yeah.
Particularly the concluding episodes. Yeah.
Woody's character was Marty Hart.
Marty.
Yes. Anyway, I went back to see if I could learn something that would be interesting related to this season, and there's really nothing apart from the spiral.
Not much more than
there's just the spiral.
Now I understand the spiral is in the reverse way, in the reverse turn.
Oh, interesting.
So the one in the 4th episode is a mirror image of the one in the 1st episode. Did you catch that?
Of this season?
Season 4, Swirl, little curlicue Swirl, the subject of tattoos and paintings on the roof of a certain trailer. It goes in the opposite direction than season 1. So it's the mirror image of it.
That I could not confirm nor deny that, but that could be. The photo that they used, that the tattoo artist in season 4 used, was taken in a mirror, which is, I think, interesting.
Which would be
reverse it.
Because if it wasn't taken in a mirror, when you look at it,
Right.
it would appear to be in the same direction.
Right.
So they went to some length to make sure that it was always in the other direction.
My bet is that the spiral's not going to resolve into anything at all.
Oh, I think you're dead wrong.
I really hope that I'm wrong. I really want the spiral to be a thing.
You're wrong. Let me tell you why you're wrong. The old woman who I had wrong as the actor. What did she say?
It's older than Innis. Yes. Older than the snow.
No. Older than the ice. Yes, older than ice. And you recall Russ' dad, Travis, coal,
Yes.
right, is linked with that part of the world
Right.
which is older than ice. These
underworld.
are not breadcrumbs.
Boy, like,
This is moving toward the fucking Yellow King.
But God, like that's what was so disappointing about season 1 is that they left so much on the table, and maybe that was on purpose to have other seasons. But I feel like
that was a mistake.
I feel like that was a mistake, and I'm concerned that things might be left unresolved here in a way that is not satisfying. But we will know soon.
It's a different set of writers. It's a different set of writers, and one would imagine that since Jodie Foster is actually an executive producer, that bad writing, like what you're describing, will not get past her, like it apparently got past 2 executive producers from season 1, who are the same executive producers. Harrelson's not in this production, but
he's a producer.
Matthew McConaughey. Is he a
He's
producer?
listed, yeah.
Well, and so is Matthew,
Yes.
as you know. But my point is not about them, because they let, for whatever rationale or whatever reason, they let that last episode happen. Jodie Foster would not let that happen. She wouldn't let it happen. She's executive producer. She's got control over that.
But so did they.
Yes, but they don't have her talent.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Right?
Sure.
Or let me go this way. They don't have her skills. And which, talents, same, I
Sure.
suppose.
I
Talents are not skills, but skills can be called a talent.
Whoa, man.
Definition.
So
Small circle, big circle.
time is a flat circle.
Talents, skills.
Talent is a
Talents,
flat circle.
skills.
Yes. I wish I could see you, but you're frozen from a while back. But whatever.
Really?
Yeah.
Now?
No, you're still frozen. But that's okay. Last time this happened, towards the end of an episode, like your video was still there,
The sound continued fine.
and the video was fine recorded. But so
Really?
I have some notes.
Transmission issue then?
I have some notes that I took on my second rewatch of this
Oh my.
this episode.
Oh my. Notes.
Notes.
Aren't you a busy little boy?
Yes. So, very interestingly, the case that binds Navarro and Danvers was the Wheeler case, where
Yes.
it was a murder-suicide, where it was this bastard that was beating his wife, and they came up
So-called.
and they came upon him, and his wife was dead, but he wasn't, and they both had guns raised, and then the story is that it was a murder suicide. So
Yes.
one of them
meaning
shot him.
that Danvers did.
Well, one of them shot him.
Well, no. You're right. Yes, you're right. I'm not wrong about this. Danvers the one who shot him.
I feel like Navarro might kill a dude. Might kill an abuser. But so would Danvers. I don't know.
The reason I say it too was their positions in the room. The final scene of that particular
Right.
the final shot of that particular scene had her
She's on his side.
front and
Yeah.
center, and Navarro was a bit in the background. I think the intention was for us to assume that it was Danvers who shot him. It was Danvers who was lying. Maybe she was lying to cover up for Navarro. I didn't get that sense.
Yeah, okay, now that you say it, I feel like Navarro might hold that against her, because Navarro kind of feels more like pure ethics, and Danvers is more fuck it, I've seen everything. Let's just deal with the world. So,
And what was he singing? Remember what he was whistling?
it just
Twist and Shout.
no, really?
Yes.
I'm.
When they came in,
I remember
the
he
room
was
with the
whistling.
dead woman.
He whistled something, but it just.
That's what he was whistling.
That's twist and shout.
Smiling and whistling at the same time.
Okay.
And you recall the prominence of that
Yes, of course.
in the
In the lab and
The first scene.
Yeah, in the very first scene.
the first scene, the very first scene.
So that was one of my notes. The next is that apparently prior Denver's friend told Denver's that he fell on his face on the ice, and like she was like, "You're such a good skater. Why would you get this like injury on your face from falling on the ice?" Because he wanted to hide the fact that his father had smacked him, which is
Hit him.
interesting. Yes.
Did he hit him with a gun?
No, just a hand.
His hand.
And the biggest question of this entire episode, in my opinion, is who threw the orange back. Navarro's out in the middle of
I know who threw
Who?
it back. Travis.
Travis, the dead guy.
Yeah.
Cool. But what an interesting, like, creative plot point to, like, how could we make this the most creepy? Well, let's have her a couple scenes ago have picked up an orange and then be out in the middle of nowhere and then just out of frustration, I guess, throw the orange into the void.
Do you know why she threw the orange?
Tell me.
It was frozen. She couldn't eat it anymore. She squeezed it, and it was so hard that it became a stone.
That's when I saw the oranges at first. I was like, "Why would you have fresh fruit on the ice?" Because
On the ice. She didn't get it in the ice.
well,
She was inside.
no. It was the hillbilly boys were like collecting stuff to go out, and they had a bunch of oranges, and one of them dropped one of them.
Oh,
And-
right. Well, it's.
But like,
And your question is, why would you take an orange for sustenance when you're out searching in ice cold weather?
I guess her mistake was putting it in her pocket. I don't know.
I wouldn't have froze there.
Yeah. So
I don't know if I'm right about this frozen thing. I just thought of it, and I wonder if that's it. Because
Well-
why else would she throw a perfectly good orange? I mean,
I think she was just
and the
she was
answer is
frustrated.
so that an unknown force could throw it back.
Right.
That's the answer. But these kinds of things with the plot, I mean, you won't when we think about the writing and the screenplay and all the things that we've tracked over the years. We never found in Succession a plot hole. We saw it in The Last of Us. We saw it in Big Time in Your Honor,
Right.
which was the worst.
Right.
The worst. Stupid stuff. I still talk about in Your Honor him trying to hide the fact that his son was the murderer by stuffing his clothes and books in a small little wood burning stove,
Right.
as if somehow they were going to burn up clean.
Yeah. Well.
Oh God.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And
right.
so I think that's they're going to leave that unanswered. We're never going to know who threw the orange back.
No, that's not true.
No, right? Well,
Nope.
okay.
Nope. This series last episode is going to be the conclusion
Where they go back and they talk
of
about
a supernatural journey that was never concluded in season 1, which is picked up completely in season 4, and it will be resolved under the tutelage of the new writers and their new executive producer and star Jodie Foster.
Boy,
mark my
you're
words.
so optimistic. I love that about you. Great. And the next thing I loved about the episode was that Danvers and Navarro, when they did their montage of putting the photos together and pulling stuff
In the circle
in the
again.
circle, I loved that they made progress based on how long it takes hair dye to fade, and how beautifully feminine that is. Like, that's not a thing that men detectives would figure out.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
that's
I think you're
totally a thing that women would know about.
Yes.
And I thought that was cool. And next, when Danvers asks Navarro, "What do you do when you're lonely?" She says, "I watch Netflix."
I pray. Oh,
And I thought, damn, you actually named your competitor on, like, you're on HBO, and you're like, Netflix is what I do when I'm bored. It's just like, that was like, whoa.
funny that wasn't next.
Yeah,
Brand placement.
right, exactly.
Brand placement. They probably got $1 million for saying that. Think about that. They wouldn't get any money from their host.
Yeah, sure, maybe so. And then then it was like, no, but really, and she was like, well, I pray, and Danvers laughed, and says, you mean you talk to God? And she's like, no, I listen, which is like creepy and mysterious, but whatever. What do you
I
hear?
don't know about creepy. I think it's a brilliant response.
It's a shut the fuck up response for sure.
I don't think it was a shut the fuck up response. I think that she's so aware and historically aware of Danvers' spikiness and bullshit that all the nasty shit that Danvers says just bounces off her like water off a duck's back.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
She is not affected by Danvers, continual hooey gooey, Indian, spiritual. Is it one of your spirits talking to you? Shit doesn't faze her at all. She barely gives her a look half the time.
Right. Yep. For sure.
So what's interesting about Navarro in this relationship thing is that what I haven't pieced together yet is their discussion of why Navarro left and when she left was that it happened in an amicable way, that she encouraged her, she decided to apply, and it was laid out as what sounded like a friendly, workable thing, which now we know that happened probably, obviously sometime, but maybe a long time after the conjectured murder of a alleged murder by Danvers. That was the upsetting event. It wasn't her move or anything. They left on amicable terms, and it was only after that move that this idea that Danvers hated her became clear, because it's clear now. And when somebody says, Pete said but while you're working with Navarro, you hate Navarro. And she said, I hate everybody,
Right.
especially you right now.
Yes.
And so that's not quite set square yet for me.
Yeah, I don't know. You say amicable. I'm not sure that's. I think they had their struggle after. Let's say you're right,
That.
and Navarro watched Danvers kill a guy, but
And it was never right after that.
and it was never right after that, and
But right enough that the transfer thing was something that seemed reasonable, and she did it, and only in hindsight was referring to it as you fucking got rid of me. Danvers manipulated her well enough for her not to think at the time that it was manipulation or her getting rid of her.
yeah.
And I think she must have hated her without letting her completely know it until afterwards.
Yeah, okay, I guess.
Do you think they were lovers?
I do not.
Because they told us in episode 3
With the beans,
That-
yeah.
that Navarro was at least had been bisexual.
I don't. I did love in their what's the right question scene where Danvers claimed that like no one around here knows that I'm fucking this guy, and Navarro's like everybody knows, and
That I'm what? The affair with Ted?
Yeah, and Navarro was like, everybody knows. Come on.
Everybody
And-
knows that. And she looked.
And what I loved about that was how that gave them the impulse to then be like, okay, so someone must have known about this relationship, and that like furthered the plot, furthered the investigation of, okay, you can't possibly keep a love affair secret, which was lovely.
And so I'm not quite following your. What's that the precursor of?
No. Then they went back to the photos and they were like, wait a minute, someone must have known about this, and that was when they figured out, oh, some of these photos were taken by someone that wasn't the couple.
And you can't keep it. Yes.
And
you can't keep that
then they
affair
went
secret.
to the hair dye and they found the hairdresser that like knew and that explained how they
Right.
met.
Now, how did that scene end with her in the interview?
The hairdresser explained that that Annie came and met with and started hanging out with Clark a lot, and that it just sort of.
And she too was hanging out with who?
She
One of the scientists.
no, she was with a guy that
a mechanic.
the Unkirk or whatever his name was, that they then go and find out in the ice. She was dating some other guy that Oliver something that's the other scene that I loved was this Oliver guy. Prior, the young guy looked into him and like there were no records, there was nothing, but Navarro with her native contacts was able to find this guy, and she was like, not everything's in the computer, freshman, or whatever, which was cute.
Yeah, it's interesting too. The Pete's father,
Pete,
what's
yes.
his name? Pete's dad.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is, he's a good actor from that Western that I can never remember the name of. But his character and his apparently wild recruitment of his hillbilly friends, and how Danvers could not seem to get control of that. And then the scene when Navarro, no, Danvers throws coffee in his face. Yes. It was coffee.
Hank Pryor.
Couldn't have been coffee.
The actor's name is John Hawkes.
Yes. That tension and her inability, it seems reasonable because in these small towns, you don't have a lot of potential for recruitment. Explains why both the father and the son work in the same department.
Sure.
Which he doesn't work for his dad, so nepotism doesn't necessarily apply in a loose setting. Some places wouldn't allow that.
Right.
They wouldn't allow that. They have to be separated by divisions or something. But when you've only got 3 people in your police force, like they do, that's it. So, yeah, it's
that scene led to one of my favorite lines of this whole episode, where his retort is, "Yeah, well, I might report you for playing Mrs. Robinson with my son," and
that prompted
and then the son goes, "Who's Mrs. Robinson?" Which I thought was adorable.
And so, what did that tell you? What was your conclusion on that about the history?
No, I don't think he's implying anything at all. It's just that you have total control over this. You, a 60-year-old woman, have total control over this 25-year-old.
He was accusing her of being so sluttish and whorish.
Right,
that's what she was doing with her son, was playing Mrs. Robinson,
right.
Which made her so angry she threw it couldn't have been coffee.
No, I think it had to be tea because it wasn't. It was clear when he wiped it off. I don't know.
It was water, probably.
Well, I mean, most of the cups in TV shows are all empty anyway. So
I've been checking that ever since you said that. I saw a scene in your late gonna get a D- homework of catching up on the Mayor of Kingstown. There's a scene in Mayor of Kingstown where they have stuff in their cups. I'm sure of it. You could absolutely tell by the way they were holding it.
Okay.
So it's not. It's mostly, though. It's sort of like suitcases too. Suitcases are empty. Bags are empty, and people carry them like they're empty, which is not
right.
good.
So the other thing that'll break your mind about watching television and movies is realizing that when actors walk into an elevator and the doors close, they cut and they open the doors again, and the actors come back out because it's not actually an elevator. Like the fake elevator doors on sets are kind of humorous to me because.
Did you hear didn't Bill Hader have a funny story about Schwarzenegger?
Oh yes.
That his job. His job was to open and close the doors?
Yes, exactly.
There's a bomb in there.
Yes. Exactly. But similarly, anytime you especially in like hospital dramas and stuff, people go into elevators and then they cut to being in the elevator and then the doors open and they're in another place. But you know that the actors that walked into that little room, then they had to open the doors so the actors could come back out. And then they went to another set and to come back out another door. Anyway, let's see. My final note on this episode.
Man, you are. This is admirable.
I've taken.
You're earning your penny a day this week.
Exactly.
You earned your 7 cents.
So when damn it, not Hank. When Pete Pryor goes home and boy, haven't we all done this? You're trying to get into bed. It's late. It's late at night. Your wife's asleep. you don't want her to realize how late you're coming to bed, and
what do you do?
And you knock over a bunch of shit.
Yeah, yes. It's very, very well done. That relationship, as you mentioned it, is not portrayed in a very romantic nor sexual. It's almost like they're barely friends.
Yeah.
In the scenes, and she seems to be pissed off all the time.
True.
For what apparently is probably pretty good reasons, but typical reasons for people work in a profession like that. That they're never there and they're called on a dime. And the great scene when she says that, and then the phone rings, and he knows he's got to get it, and she's looking at him like,
and
case closed.
How many thousands of times have we seen that scene in a movie where the lover is like, look, I'm focused on me, not your boss, and then the phone rings and the person just has to fucking take it. He says, you married a cop, and she's like, well, I just married a goofy boy that was going to be a cop, but
an idiot, a goofy idiot.
But
maybe I don't want to be an idiot.
Yeah, very good. And what an interesting dynamic that is, where your profession overrules is the primary reason for your existence. Like, you can never have a relationship with someone that is more important than, because if you're a cop, maybe the phone call is that someone is dying, or maybe you're a doctor, or you're a or whatever. And and I love media that investigates that relationship, and that what is it like to be married to someone like that. For sure, I wish my wife paid less attention to her work phone than she does, and I
suffered from that type of thing for 7 years.
I try not to jump at every notification that I get, but depending on your job, sometimes, like in my job, like, oh, there's a server down, let's go reboot it or whatever. But in other jobs, like, people are fucking dying, and that's such an interesting dynamic. Tension.
Well, there's tension, if you think of it. There's tension in every single relationship that we've seen in this series. Every single relationship, there's tension.
Sure.
None of them are smooth sailing. I mean, Quavak, is that his name? Quavak and Navarro. Yep. Danvers and Ted. Although the one that isn't like that, I misspoke. Danvers' daughter, I wish I had a name.
Yeah.
And her girlfriend.
They seem pretty copacetic. Yeah.
That's happy. Yep. There's no tension there yet. I add, yet.
But true. That it's. Yeah, I mean, if you're writing a drama, you need tension in all the relationships, but. The other thing that I remember, not a note, was how Denver said, I'm on Tinder. I'm open to going to fuck people in Fairbanks, which is just like, okay, interesting
character.
But also, what a like if that was a man saying that, it would just be like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I don't know. It's the writers trying to highlight, I don't know, to empower women, to be like, yeah, we can go fuck people whenever we want. I don't know.
Yeah, I wait with bated breath. I changed a quick subject as on the way out the door
Yes.
here. So I've been searching for another series.
Yes.
Because this one is great, but it's the only one I'm following right now, waiting for Mayor of Kingstown to finish their third season shoot, which will take a while.
I looked into that. I could not find it. It's only available on like Paramount Plus, which is the only streaming service I don't have.
Oh,
So
that's too bad. But I was searching, and I was thinking about going back to season 1 of True Detective, but I've seen so many pieces of it. And then I thought,
good.
you know what? I've never watched all of The Sopranos. 4 seasons, 13 episodes apiece. I'm on episode 4.
nor have I.
And I am absolutely blown away. I'm laughing out loud. I'm absolutely mesmerized by what I see on the screen. And in hindsight, to be clear, it's not like I've never watched all of it. I've hardly ever watched any of it.
Same here. Is it so old that it's in
No.
4x3?
No, well,
Or
I don't know about.
well, like I went like the other series that everyone says is The Wire, right? And that has been redone to be in 16:9, which is our new wide thing, but necessarily by doing that they're chopping off parts of the top and bottom.
Yeah. I didn't notice anything particularly different except that the introduction and the next episode scenes were what looked like really old footage, but the series itself did not have that effect. There was nothing cinematographically that I looked at that didn't resonate. It was perfect.
Yeah, everyone says The Sopranos is one of the better things.
Well, I'm going to continue with that. I'm forming a duo. I hope it to be a trio. And the dude who I've talked to you about before, shout out to Steve Pesh, who's in Kalamazoo here, who I call the Juke. Because he's got in his head well over 200 tunes. Just him, a mic, and a guitar for a lot of it. Then he's got a country band called Dirty Boots that I love. And then I've seen the Steve Pesh band, which was 5 or 6 people. But he lives on the St. Joe River, which is wide and moves steady, but very wide. Hard to fish it, it's so big. And I've yet to see it at his property, but I offered to him, I don't know that he'll accept it, offered that the name of the band, duo or trio, is Slow River Rising.
That's a good name.
What do you think?
Good name.
Slow River Rising. And the reason is because I hope that we will particularly celebrate harmonies, and probably just as much harmonics as harp, so that the harp isn't overdone. Less is more, with the harp. And our
Harpmonics.
our other band, which hasn't got a name yet, but I'm leaning toward the name Fusion.
That's boo. No.
Bad.
Boo.
Too overused.
Boo.
Overused.
Tell me more about it. I'll give you a better name. Like.
Well, I'm pretty sure that won't be the name, because the way that it's coming together is it's a very gifted, talented guitarist. It's a very gifted, talented bass player. It's a drummer who is not only quite good at the drums, but also sings and plays the saxophone, and I think something else, maybe, and a guitar. also.
Yeah, but what kind of music?
Well, it's a good
That's
question.
all bands.
I picked several old blues tunes, a couple of new blues tunes, some Watermelon Slim. They picked tunes that range from surprising but fun, Leroy Brown, and it's an old Western tune you may have heard before called "There Stands the Glass." So we're gonna put some country in there, and
Blue Glass. Sorry. I was gonna go with like Blue Onion or something. I don't know, something with blues.
Blue Cloud.
Blue.
Do you know what the term blue cloud is used? It's in the song that is the opening song of Sopranos. Blue cloud in your eyes.
No. What?
Or is it blue moon? Blue moon in your eyes. No, it's blue cloud. It's something from the sky. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, good. You're making sense. All right. I guess
So
we're done here.
So
because
you gonna put in your homework list the entire Sopranos? We need to talk about it.
so I've
Because you can't get Kingstown, so
yeah.
that's
Over the weekend,
that's the only-
I started this. This show called Behind Her Eyes. Again, it's on Netflix, which is like unavailable to you. Which is it's just this interesting female-centric dating in London show, but that I really, after the first episode, I was like, I don't want to watch any more of this. But then I started the second one, and kind of I need to watch more. But boy, how long are the Sopranos episodes? Because that
a television hour.
right, exactly.
Which is
no television hour. Like that was always HBO.
Oh, that's right.
So it's not
An hour.
45 minutes.
So it's 52 hours of viewing.
All right. Well, I'll have that done by
next week.
I'll have that done for sure. And then we can talk about what's up with Tony. Tony.
Tony, hey. Hey, Tony. Hey.
Hey.
All right. Well, till then, and buy some pasta and some garlic and some canned tomatoes, and just when you're cutting up the garlic, use a razor blade directly into the oil.
I do that every time. Yes.
Next episode, you tell me what gangster movie that came from, unless you know now.
That's Goodfellas.
Oh, good.
Boom.
And who was the character?
It's not Ray Liotta, but I don't know.
Yeah, the Yoda of the group, who recently died.
Yes.
Servino's father. Is his name Servino?
Probably yes, but yeah, some old dude. Yeah, but yes, and so I literally, as I think I have told you, I literally watched that movie for the first time like a year ago.
Really?
The first time, and
Really?
it was yes.
Iconic. I gotta
Yeah.
go.
You think this is funny? Sorry.
Do I amuse you? Do I amuse you?
Okay, that's it for episode number 205. There are some show notes at happyhour.fm/205. And if you join the Patreon at patreon.com/happyhour, you can see the video of where Dennis realized that I wasn't seeing his live video and he was making faces and obscene gestures and things. See you next week.